this series of video demonstrations for the Creature Shaker project. Today's demonstration will outline creating the body. To begin with, we will start by making 30 small pebbles. I've already made a few and have them right here in this lid. They can vary anywhere from 1/4 of an inch to 1/8 of an inch and be irregular in size, whether they're circular or slightly oblong. These 30 will set aside to dry before we add them inside the two parts of our pinch pot. The size of the pebble will affect the sound, and the thickness of the body of the clay will also affect the sound. We will start with 1.5 pounds of clay. This will become the body of the creature. By this time you will have identified the general body shape that you would like to use as you go forward in your creating. I have roughly shaped this piece to be longer and narrower for a general body shape that would fit many mammals. My next step is to take my wire tool and to cut this piece of clay into 2 equal parts. From these parts, I will begin forming a set of matching pinch pots. As I make these 2 pinch pots, I have to be considerate of making each one identical so that the diameter is the same, the thickness is similar, and each one will fit together just like this. I have now created 2 halves that will be joined together to complete the final body. However, these do have slight variances in diameter. As you can see, this one is slightly smaller. All I'm going to do is pinch a small area around the edge to increase the diameter, always checking to see how they match. One thing I will do also to make sure that they're flat is tap them on the table and spin them. I will do this to both. Testing them, checking them, they are very close to the same size. My next step is to slip and score each rim, place the pebbles inside, and join them together. Slip will be applied with a paintbrush throughout the entire rim. Both pinch pots will be done in this method. Once both pinch pots have been slipped, I will now use a scoring rib to create score marks on top of the rim. Once both halves have been scored and slipped, I will take my 30 pebbles that I have created earlier. These pebbles will be placed inside Don't worry about them sticking right now. As the clay dries, these pebbles will release from the wall. The next step is to join the 2 pinch pots, taking great care to make sure that the seams line up. And what I'm doing right now is twisting back and forth to make sure that the scoring marks are joining to each other. After 1 or 2 revolutions, the 2 pinch pots are joined together and have trapped all the air inside. There's one final step. I will be creating a coil and attaching that, blending it to reinforce the seam that I have just created. When making coils, it is important to keep the following steps in mind. Use the softest clay possible. Roughly shape the coil before beginning. Apply a downward pressure as you roll out and very little pressure as you bring it back to yourself. Use your whole hand from the bottom of your palm to the tips of your fingers. Move back and forth across the coil. Do not stay in one place for too long. I also find that when I am standing up, the overall quality of my coil is greater. Before attaching the coil, I will apply a small amount of water around the seam at which both pinch pots were joined. This will allow me to stick the soft coil I have just created to the body of my creature. With such a small piece of coil, there's no need to slip and score. Slowly securing that to the seam. Not worrying about blending it in right now until I make a full revolution and the other side has met up. I will just snap off the extra and then slowly take my thumbs and alternate blending the coil into the body. Although the seam is evident now, once I use any sort of rib or flat scraper, I'm able to blend many of those marks in to be almost indistinguishable. Now that I'm finished, I can continue to shape this if I would like. The trapped air inside prevents it from collapsing on itself, and I can roll it out. I can flatten one end, and I have successfully completed creating the body of my creature shaker. This concludes the first in a series of video demonstrations for the Creature Shaker project.